Hey there, trail trekkers and tall tale seekers. You're tuned in to the 406 Life, the podcast where Montana Max, your Bigfoot buddy and outlaw gear mascot, yeah, that's me, leads you through the wild, weird, and wonderful corners of Montana. Each week we share stories, legends, and laughs from the last best place. So grab your boots and sense of adventure, because we're about to make some Montana-sized memories. This episode's powered by Outlaw Gear, where rebels get their style. Want to look legendary? Mosey over to I'mAnOutlaw.com and claim your outlaw status. Welcome back to the 406 Life. I'm Montana Max. And today we're talking about a murder, or an accident, or a suicide. Depends on who you believe, and how much you trust the people telling the story. This is the one I've been sitting on for a while now. Because it's not simple. It's not clean. And after over 150 years, nobody, and I mean nobody, has figured it out. Before we get into it, I got a quick ask. If you've been listening to this show and you keep coming back, do me a solid. Leave a review wherever you're listening right now. 5 stars if you feel like it. Share this episode with somebody who loves a good mystery. That's how a little show like this one keeps growing. Word of mouth. That's the Montana way. All right, let's get to it. July 1st, 1867. Fort Benton, Montana Territory. Middle of the night. A steamboat called the G.A. Thompson is tied up along the shore of the Missouri River. It's pitch black. No moon worth talking about. The water's moving fast. And cold. A sentry on the upper deck sees a man walking toward the back of the boat. The man's wearing nothing but his undergarments. Moving quick. The sentry figures it's just some officer headed to the stern for a little privacy. He looks away, and then he hears it. A yelp. Short. Sharp. Then a long scream, the kind of scream that sticks with you. Then a splash. Man overboard. The crew comes running with lanterns, but the light barely reaches 5 feet into that black water. They hear groans drifting downstream, fading. They throw boats into the river. They search the banks. Nothing. The man who went into that water was Thomas Francis Meagher, the acting governor of Montana Territory, a war hero, a revolutionary, a man who'd already escaped death more times than most people escape a parking ticket. And he was never seen again. Now here's where this story gets interesting. Because who Meagher was, that's the whole reason his death is still argued about to this day. Thomas Francis Meagher was born in Ireland in 1823. During the Great Famine, when his people were starving under British rule, Meagher stood up. He became one of the leaders of a rebellion called the Young Irelanders. He was just 25 years old. They caught him, convicted him of high treason, and the sentence, hanged, drawn, and quartered. Let that sink in. They were going to hang him, cut him open while he was still alive, and chop his body into pieces. That was the plan. But there was massive public outrage, so the British backed off. They commuted his sentence to exile for life, shipped him to the other side of the world, Van Diemen's Land, now Tasmania, a penal colony, a prison island. And Meagher escaped. He escaped with help from supporters who arranged his passage on a ship, crossed the ocean, showed up in New York City to a hero's welcome. The Irish community treated him like a rock star. He became a lawyer, a newspaper editor, a public speaker. He was famous. Then the Civil War broke out, and Meagher didn't sit on the sidelines. He organized the Irish Brigade, thousands of Irish immigrants fighting for the Union. He led them into some of the worst battles of the war. Bull Run, Antietam, Fredericksburg, had 2 horses shot out from under him. The man was not afraid to fight. After the war, President Andrew Johnson sent him west, made him Secretary of Montana Territory. but the governor, Sidney Edgerton, had already left. So Meagher stepped in as acting governor. And that's where everything went wrong. Montana Territory in the 1860s was not a place that played nice. The gold rush had pulled in thousands of people, and right behind them came all the divisions of the Civil War: Republicans versus Democrats, federal power versus local control. And running through all of it like a live wire was a group called the Vigilantes. These weren't some ragtag mob, but they were organized, connected, powerful: lawyers, judges, merchants, led by a man named Wilbur Fisk Sanders. They ran Montana Territory like it was their courtroom. Except there was no jury, no trial, and no appeal. If they decided you were a criminal, they hanged you, left your body as a warning, and signed their work with the numbers 3, 7, 77, said to be the dimensions of a grave. Meagher looked at all this and said, no. He believed in courts. He believed in trials. He believed the law should come from elected officials, not from a secret committee with a rope. That made him the most dangerous man in Montana, not to criminals, to the people in power. Real talk, we all have a million things to do. That's why the UPS store 4489 exists. Printing, shipping, mailbox services, notary work, it's all there. Stop wasting time. Go see them at 2047 North Last Chance Gulch, Helena, Montana, your one-stop shop for small business solutions. And here's where it gets personal. In 1866, an Irish miner named James Daniels was convicted of manslaughter after a saloon fight. Meagher believed the trial was rigged, driven by anti-Irish bias, so he used his authority as governor and issued a pardon. The vigilantes didn't care. They grabbed Daniels anyway, dragged him out, and hanged him. Then they left Meagher's written pardon in the dead man's pocket. Think about that. They didn't just kill Daniels. They sent a message. Your authority means nothing. Your signature means nothing. We run this territory. After that, the death threats against Meagher became open. Sanders and his allies made it clear. Meagher needed to go, one way or another. So now let's go back to that night in Fort Benton. June of 1867. Meagher rides overland from Virginia City to collect a shipment of weapons from his old war buddy, General Sherman. But the trip nearly kills him. Somewhere on the trail he gets dysentery, severe dehydration, high fever, cramping so bad he can barely stand. For over a week, he's bedridden. By the time he reaches Fort Benton on July 1st, he's a wreck, thin, feverish, barely holding it together. Then he gets more bad news. The guns aren't there. Low water on the Missouri kept the supply boat from making it upriver. The weapons are stuck 130 miles downstream. So Meagher boards the G.A. Thompson to head downriver and collect them. And here's a detail that matters. The boat had been in a collision just days earlier. The upper deck railings, gone. No barriers between the walkway and the river below. One more thing. Guess who else was on that boat? Wilbur Fisk Sanders, Meagher's biggest political enemy. The man who'd spent 2 years trying to destroy him. Right there, on the same vessel. Meagher was reportedly frantic that evening. He told people he'd overheard someone in town say, "There he goes." He believed assassins were coming for him. He demanded a gun to defend himself. And then, around 10 o'clock, the scream, the splash, and Thomas Francis Meagher was gone forever. So, what happened? There are 4 theories, and they've been fighting each other for over a century and a half. Ready for your next Montana home? Visit mostwantedrealestate.net, because that's how the West is sold. Theory 1. He was sick, weak. It was dark. There were no railings. He stumbled, he fell. A tragic accident. Most historians lean this way, and honestly, the physical evidence supports it. A man with severe dysentery, burning up with fever, walking an unlit deck with no guardrails. That's a death trap, even if nobody's after you. And some of Mar's supporters believed the dysentery itself wasn't natural. They thought his enemies had poisoned him before he ever set foot on that boat. Without a body, nobody could ever prove it. But poison was a known tool back then, and the people who wanted him gone weren't exactly above it. Theory 2, he was drunk. This story came straight from Sanders and the Republican press. Convenient, if you're the man who wanted him gone. But here's the problem. If you've got severe dysentery and you're badly dehydrated, heavy drinking doesn't just make you clumsy. It makes you dead. Historians who've studied this closely say the drunk governor story was likely a smear campaign. And the main eyewitness? He didn't come forward until 1923, 56 years later. Take that, how you will. Theory 3, suicide. Again. This came from Sanders. He claimed Marr was paranoid, mentally broken. Yes, Marr was clearly distressed that night, but he was also a devout Catholic. His faith strongly condemned taking your own life. He'd survived things that would have broken most people 10 times over. And he still had plans. He wanted Montana to become a state. People working toward a future like that don't usually throw themselves into a river. Theory 4. Murder. And this is the one that keeps people awake at night. In 1913, 46 years after Marr disappeared, a man named Frank Diamond lay dying in Missoula. He called in reporters, and he confessed. He claimed Montana vigilantes had paid him $8,000 to kill Marr. He said he ambushed him on the deck of the G.A. Thompson and threw his body into the Missouri River. $8,000 in 1867. That was a fortune, a contract killing. But here's the twist. Diamond didn't die. He recovered. And under pressure from powerful local families, descendants of the original vigilantes, he took it all back. Claimed he'd been delirious when he confessed. But the confession is still out there, and it lines up with what many Montanans had believed for years. Then in 2016, Pulitzer Prize-winning author Timothy Egan published The Immortal Irishman. After digging through the evidence, he landed on murder. His argument? The political climate was violent enough. The enemies were ruthless enough, the opportunity was perfect, and the people who controlled the story afterward had every reason to cover it up. Here's what gets me. The man who shaped the public narrative of Marr's death, the man who convinced people it was just a drunk governor falling off a boat, was the same man who'd spent years trying to destroy him. Wilbur Fisk Sanders. He went on to become one of Montana's first United States senators. He won, Marr lost, and dead men don't get to tell their side. So where does that leave us? We'll probably never know. No body was ever recovered. No forensic evidence exists. The Missouri River took Thomas Francis Meagher, and it never gave him back. Every theory, accident, murder, suicide, even poisoning, has just enough evidence to stay alive. And not enough to end the argument. But maybe that's what makes this story worth telling. It's not just a mystery. It's about power, about who gets to write history, about what happens when law and violence collide in a place where the rules are still being written. Montana's full of stories like that. This one just happens to have a body at the bottom of a river that nobody has ever found. Before I let you go, I want you to do one thing for me. If this episode hit different, if it made you think or made you want to dig deeper. Share it, send it to a friend, post it somewhere. And if you haven't left a review yet, now's the time. Every review helps more people discover this show, and stories like this one deserve to be heard. Head over to the406life.com to read the full blog post. We've got the complete breakdown, the historical sources, the timeline, the competing theories, everything. That's the406life.com. The river's still running. The mystery's still there. And some stories don't get neat endings. Montana Max, over and out. Got a Montana story, business, or unsolved mystery you want on the show? Head to the406life.com and drop me a line. No smoke signals required. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a stomp, stumble, or tall tale. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, heck, tell that guy who swears he saw me near Whitefish. I was just buying donuts, all right? Until next time, keep it outrageous, keep it kind, and keep living the 406 life. Montana Max, over and out.
That's the